Shalawam, and I give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Hashem, Shai, Bashim, and Kakadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to you brothers out there teaching us word of truth and sincerity. And Shalom to the hopeful elect and the Israelites scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. This is Gad I Want. I'm going to do a quick video on today, it's Christmas Day. And I was on Twitter, and it says Crimes of Britain. So on this day, December 25th, 1831, Christmas Uprising, Jamaica. 60,000 enslaved Africans, Israelites, led by Samuel Sharp, resist the British, who responded by executing hundreds. Okay, and that's just what they said they executed. They executed far more. Okay, and this is something I wanted to go into more in detail. Okay, because there's this thing called the Baptist War, also known as the Christmas Rebellion, Christmas Uprising, and the Great Jamaican Slave Revolt. Alright, of 1831 was 11-day rebellion by Samuel Sharp, a Baptist preacher. So much like the the more well-known rebellion of Nat Turner, he was a preacher, and there's always it's a recurring theme amongst these slave rebellions that the man that is a preacher, okay, he's well educated. They always rise up, okay. Ideology, right? Missionary educated rebels. All right, following progress of the abolitionist movement and their intention to call it a peaceful strike. Yeah, because this man Samuel Sharp, I'll go into him real quick. He this is a monument of him, Montego Bay. He's a national hero in Jamaica, okay? And he was well educated on his plantation as a slave. And during that time in 1830, there was an abolitionist movement in Britain. So they would take they would be very informed regarding what was happening in British politics, especially that concerning the abolitionist movement, because Jamaica at the time was a British colony. And so it was his thought that, hey, we're free, we're not slaves anymore, and he led a strike, okay? He was born into slavery in St. James, Jamaica, a plantation owned by Samuel and Jane Sharp, 1805. The slave return of 1832, announcing his death, gave his name as Archer, a.k.a. Samuel Sharp, son of Eve, and was only 31 years old when he died, right? Because he was executed, all right, after the rebellion. The slave return of Samuel and Jane Sharp, 1870, showed a young 12-year-old Archer on a plantation of his mother. Okay. Sharp became a well-known preacher and leader, Salakia, on the plantation with his mother, Judah Bligum, and siblings, Joe, 2 years old, Eliza, 20 years old. He was allowed to become well-educated, and because of his education, he was respected by other slaves. Sharp became a well-known preacher and leader in the Baptist Church, which had long welcomed slaves as members and recognized them as preachers. He was a deacon, and he spent most of his time traveling in different parishes in Jamaica, educating slaves about Christianity, which he believed promised freedom. Yeah, because he was a spiritual guy. It's always the same thing. It's always a recurring theme that men that rose up against the so-called white man, they were spiritual men, okay? They believed in the scriptures. They were educated. And when you become educated, when you're able to read, you start understanding the scriptures, you start going back into the spirit of being an Israelite, okay? A king-like spirit. And that's what the white man, so-called white man, he didn't allow us to read, okay? He'd beat us if he caught us reading the scriptures. Because when he allowed Jake to become educated, this is what happened. They rebelled. So I'm going to go through a few of these. Of course, Toussaint L'Ouverture, the most successful of all slave rebellions, led to the independence of Haiti, okay? And this goes down, shows you all these different slave revolts being suppressed, the few that were victorious, of course, Santo Domingo, the Haitian Revolution, right, and here a lot of these are in Virginia. John Brown's raid, slave revolt, Cherokee Nation, and those Cherokees, okay, those were Edomites. Those weren't Gadites. Okay, they were Edomites that married in. In 1841, the Creole case. Okay, the Amistad, Cuban. Nat Turner's rebellion, right? That was in 1831. So then the Spirit had in 1831 through 1832 this Baptist War, okay, which is what happened on started on Christmas Day, known as Christmas Uprising. Okay, led by native Baptist preacher Samuel Sharp, enslaved black workers demanded more freedom and a working wage. Okay, and they did a general strike. They took an oath to stay away from work until their demands were met by plantation owners. The enslaved laborers believed that the work stoppage could achieve their ends alone. A resort to force was only envisaged if violence was used against them. It became the largest slave uprising in British West Indies, mobilizing as many as 60,000 of the 300,000 slaves. During the rebellion, 14 whites were killed by armed slave battalions, and 207 rebels were killed. Colonel William Grigon of the militia was an attorney who ran several states, including one at Salt Spring. A series of incidents in December were sparks for uprising. He led the militia against the rebels at Belverde Estate, but he was forced to retreat, leaving the rebels in command of the rural areas of the parish of St. James. All right. Sir Willoughby Cotton, who commanded the British forces, then summoned Jamaican Maroons of Accomptown to help suppress the rebellion in the second week of January. However, when the Maroons attacked the rebels, they were forced to withdraw because the rebels were too strong. The Aponca Maroons soon gained upper hand, however, and they defeated the rebels in one skirmish, killing one of Sharp's deputies, Campbell, in the assault. When the army regulars were besieged by the rebels at Maroontown, they relieved them, killing more rebels and captured scores of them, including another Sharp's deputies, Dehaney. So it shows you that the Most High wasn't with this, okay? The Most High wasn't with this rebellion. And Esau was actually capturing Sharp's top men, okay? When the Windward Maroons from Charlestown and Moors answered the call of Cotton, the rebel cause was lost. These Eastern Maroons killed and captured a number of other rebels, including another leader named Gillespie. One of the last leaders of the rebels, Gardner, surrendered when he heard the Charlestown Maroons had joined the fight against them. Suppression and death toll. The rebellion was quickly suppressed by British forces. The reaction of the Jamaican government and reprisals of plantocracy were far more brutal. Approximately 500 slaves were killed, with 207 killed outright during the revolt. After the rebellion, an estimated 310 to 340 slaves were killed through various forms of judicial executions. At times for quite minor offenses. One recorded execution was for the theft of a pig, another a cow. An 1853 account of Henry Belby described how the courts commonly executed 3 or 4 persons simultaneously. Bodies were piled up until the black people relegated to the workhouse carted the bodies away at night and buried them in mass graves outside town. After the rebellion, property damage was estimated in the Jamaican Assembly summary report in March 1832 at £1 million, 154,589, equaling about £52 million in modern terms. The planters suspected many missionaries of having encouraged the rebellion. Some, such as William Knibb, were arrested later, but later released. A group of white colonials destroyed chapels that housed black congregations. So, the faith of our people led to this rebellion, the faith in the scriptures. And the so-called white man going around killing Israelites for any type of crime, right? To set a precedent for those who look to rebel against their power. Okay, so as a result, the Baptists, hundreds of slaves ran away in order to avoid being forced back into slavery. The Maroons were only successful in apprehending a small number of these runaway slaves. Many runaways remained free and at large when the British Parliament passed the act abolishing slavery in 1833. The brutality of the Jamaican plantocracy during the revolt is thought to have accelerated the British political process of emancipating the slaves. Parliament passed the Slavery Abolition Act in 1833 for initial measures to begin in 1834, followed by partial emancipation outright for children 6 or under, 6 years apprenticeship for the rest in 1834, and then unconditional emancipation of chattel slavery in 1838, which shows you that there was a lot of backlash for slavery, man. Slavery was a cruel and wicked thing the so-called white man did to our people. And guess what? You're going to go in slavery now, okay? And you're not going to be able to rebel. You're not going to get together in your little white chapels and have the scriptures, because the Bible condemns you, okay? There's nothing about freeing Esau in the scriptures. It's all about freeing Israelites. And that's exactly what was happening. So I'm going to go a couple scriptures. This is Isaiah 14:1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them, and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord, for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Yes, and that time is coming into now, right? That at the time of the Christmas uprising, it wasn't time for our people to rule, okay? It wasn't time for our people to take captive of those who were captive. Not only that, our people weren't in that mind state. They weren't like, okay, let's go enslave these crackers. No, they just wanted freedom, man. They just wanted freedom. They didn't want to work anymore and be beaten to death by the devil himself, okay? Yep. And they shall take them captives, who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage whereas thou was made to serve. That's exactly what's happening. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how has the oppression ceased? The golden city ceased. Because that hard bondage that we were made to serve, okay, that gave us a whole lot of hell on us, man. Our people are still suffering from that hard bondage to this day, and there's no retribution or any type of how you would say. There's no righting. The so-called white man hasn't made a right for that wrong, for lack of better terms, okay? And it's not up to him to do that. It's up to the Heavenly Father, okay? And it's shown here in the scriptures. And thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how's the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked, and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continued stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. And that's what's going to happen when the so-called white man is finally taken down. Okay? And that staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers is America. Okay? Because America smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke and rules the nations in great anger. But soon America's going to be the one that's persecuted. Okay, this is Jeremiah 30:12. With thus saith the Lord, thy bruise is incurable and thy wound is grievous. There is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. All thy lovers have forgotten thee, they seek thee not. For I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, with the chastisement of a cruel one, for the multitude of thy iniquity, because thy sins were increased. That's why we were in slavery. We went into slavery because we were going off. We went against the Heavenly Father. And what was taking us out of slavery? The scriptures. Okay? When Samuel Sharp was on the scene, he was going around teaching the word. He was an educated man, and he knew the scriptures. That leads to what? You fighting for the truth. You fighting for justice. Okay? And that's what the so-called white man, he doesn't want us to be educated. He doesn't want us to be well thought in the word, in the Bible. He tries to keep that away from us. Why? Because the Bible will stir up that righteous spirit within us. Okay? And that's very fearful for the so-called white man. He'd rather us be hooked on drugs and listening to whatever BS booty music's on, you know? Head stuck up a woman's ass, you know? He'd rather us do that instead of us take hold of our nationality. Take hold of the scriptures, okay, and bring it out, and they keep bringing it out and teach, because that's what he was doing. That's what Samuel Sharp was doing. He was going around teaching the word, and it led to what? It led to a slave rebellion, because the so-called white man was doing nothing but wickedness to Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin out there in Jamaica. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrows incurable for the multitude of thy iniquity, because thy sins were increased. I have done these things unto thee. Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. So you so-called white people, that's about you, man. Okay, because you devoured us. You didn't want to let us go, man. Okay, it was against your will when these new laws were passed, these emancipations were passed. You so-called white people fought tooth and nail to keep us as slaves, and we still are. Okay, and then even after slavery, during time so-called Jim Crow time, antebellum slavery, that was some of the worst hell you put on our people then. When you had us so-called free, you given us BS, bogus wages, putting us in debt, rolling into our communities and just wiping us out, kicking us out, ethnic cleansing. Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for prey. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord, because they called thee an outcast, saying, This is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will bring again the captivity of Jacob's tents, and have mercy on his dwelling places, and the city shall be builded up upon her own heap, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof. Right, so we're an outcast, man, and no man seeketh after us. When the so-called white man was abolishing slavery, it wasn't because, oh, it's so cruel and wicked, although that was used in their arguments to get rid of it, but it's because the elites wanted to control the slaves. They didn't want to have Esau autonomously owning other humans. Okay, a regular Edomite could just say, hey, you're my slave, walk around. He could own a human being, That was too much power for a measly serf of an Edomite. Okay, at the time, the elites were like, okay, we don't need this slavery anymore. We could do it a different way. And so they did it in putting everyone else into slavery, right? You were emancipated to what? You were emancipated, meaning you were transferred ownership to the state or to the British colonies. Okay, instead of being property of Sharp, you're now property of the U.S. government, or you're now property of the British Commonwealth, so to speak. Okay, and this is Isaiah 60 and 10. This is 60 and 8. Who are these that fly as a cloud, and as the doves to their windows? Surely the isles shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first, to bring thy sons from far, their silver and their gold with them, unto the name of the Lord thy power, unto the Holy One of Israel, because he hath glorified thee. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually, they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish, yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. The sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come blending unto thee, and all they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet, and they shall call thee the city of the Lord, the Zion, the Holy One of Israel. Yeah, and that's what culminates after you so-called white people get brought down, okay? And our kingdom is established. You're going to have to serve us. You're going to have to build our kingdom. Just the way you so-called white people thought you were going to do in the 1800s, 1600s, up until now. And there's not gonna be any rebellions, okay? And you look at all these rebellions, you read about them. It's all the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai that was on these men to lead these rebellions, okay? Men of educated men of knowledge in the scriptures. Those were the men that were looked upon by their fellow people, okay, as Israelites. I mean, as Salaki, as their leader. And today, the Israelites, the prophets, we're the leaders of the nation of Israel. Okay, so I just want to go into that Christmas rebellion, Christmas uprising. You know, everyone wants to talk about fucking Santa Claus. You know, let's talk about what really went down. And with that, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shema Shai, Bashir Makakadas, and Shalawam.